Assalamu alaikum, inshallah you're well guys. So today I'm going to speak about some industry news, and you may have heard recently that EY have dropped their plans or put their plans on pause to split up their audit and advisory business. Now I've already spoken about their initial plans to split, so if you want more detail, please do check out my previous video. Inshallah I'll leave a link to that in the description below. But for background, audit has come under a lot of scrutiny over the past couple of years, especially at the Big Four, with the Financial Reporting Council, the regulator, now wanting audit to be ring-fenced from other service lines. And that's because they were concerned about the quality of audit suffering, that there were clear conflicts of interest because firms were prioritizing providing additional paid-for services, such as consulting, tax, and advisory. And that was being prioritized over delivering a good quality audit to an existing client. Now, EY went above what the Financial Reporting Council required and proposed Project Everest. And as part of this, audit would become its own standalone business, and most other service lines would move over to a new business structure, which would be listed on the stock exchange. And that proposal was approved by EY's global leadership team last September, but this week it was rejected by the US Exec Committee. And one of the key reasons why that proposal was rejected was because of the tax division. There wasn't a clear consensus on how that division should be split between the audit business and the new advisory business. Now, what does that mean for EY going forward? Well, firstly, Project Everest was championed by Carmine, I hope I said that right, who is the global chief executive. And this may mean a change in leadership. The fact that Project Everest has been rejected is embarrassing. And normally when a project of this size goes wrong, there's a change at the top. Secondly, Project Everest will be revisited. Although the current plans have been rejected, senior leadership are still committed to having two separate businesses, although I wouldn't expect any fresh plans to be announced anytime soon. And I was actually quite surprised to read that EY had spent $600 million globally on Project Everest, with half the cost being racked up by their own staff. And ultimately, the partners are going to pay for that loss because they're paid out of EY's profits. So the leadership team will definitely think twice before announcing their next move. Thirdly, senior execs have already announced this, and that's that they expect people to leave following this announcement. And it makes sense. Normally, Big Four firms have high turnover, but people would have stayed at EY to see how Project Everest played out. If two separate businesses were created, they may have expected a new role or some sort of financial incentive. But now that the plans have been rejected, there's no incentive to stay, so more people are expected to leave. There are other pressures on staff turnover, so aside from Project Everest, the US division of EY is working on a cost-cutting exercise. They're planning to save $500 million over the next year. Now, if those pressures exist in the US, you can expect cost-cutting to occur globally, but EY aren't the only firm in this position. Other firms are cutting costs as well. Now, some people fear that EY's brand has been damaged, and although I agree that a project of this size collapsing is embarrassing, I don't think there'll be long-term repercussions. Big Four firms have received a lot of negative press over the last couple of years. A good example of that is KPMG and their audit of Carillion. KPMG recently settled a lawsuit only 2 months ago from the creditors of Carillion, and they had a provision of around $180 million for future fines and legal claims in their most recent accounts. Still, you won't hear much about KPMG being impacted by reputational debt. I think other firms who are waiting to see how Project Everest played out will now shelve the ideas of any split, especially in the short term. We've already seen Deloitte's chief exec have a slight dig at EY for Project Everest, but we have seen splits happen in other sectors. Good examples include Johnson & Johnson and GSK. So no reason why these plans may not resurface in the future. Inshallah, I'm going to leave it there, guys. As always, any questions or queries, please feel free to comment below or message me on Instagram.